It's the Cannon Sports Podcast. On today's episode, we're joined by U.S. Olympic gold medalist and national champion beach volleyball coach, Dain Blanton. Welcome in, everybody, to the Cannon Sports Podcast from Galen Center on campus at the University of Southern California. We have a great guest today. He's a man that I would describe as the most interesting man in beach volleyball. He's a multiple-time Olympian, Olympic gold medalist, national champion, and the head coach of the reigning national champion beach volleyball program and the current number one team in the country, head coach Dain Blanton.
Wow, that was quite an introduction, I'll tell you.
Did I get all that, Coach?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever been called the most interesting man in beach volleyball, but I'll go with it.
Well, we are going to take this show to prove to all of our viewers why that title is true. We'll get into your personal story. It really is an interesting one. But first, I want to talk about this USC beach volleyball team. First of all, just coming off a 3-2 win over UCLA this weekend. The last match before Pac-12's start this weekend. Just give us an update on the current state of the team. If our viewers are just tuning in for the first time, haven't watched USC Beach Volleyball or collegiate volleyball, when they tune into this program, what are they going to see?
Well, first off, let's talk about, if you haven't seen collegiate beach volleyball, you got to get out and check it out. It is something different than you've ever experienced, even if you're a beach volleyball fan, because I've been around the sport my entire life. And it's always been tournaments like brackets. You win, you move on to the next round, and finally there's two teams playing against each other for a championship. In beach collegiate volleyball, what you have is 5 teams on each squad. You're supposed to pick your squad and put them in order of ability. So you have the number 1 team all the way down to the number 5 team. In a duel, you have to win 3 out of 5 of those matches. So you don't have to win at the 1 and 2 spot. You could win at 3, 4, and 5 and still become a national champion. So the number 5 position, just as important as the number 1. And sometimes you have all 5 of these matches going on at the same time. So it can be exhilarating. There's a head coach, an assistant coach, and a volunteer assist. So we only have 3 coaches. Sometimes there's 5 matches. That means we're running around trying to keep up with things. So it's exhilarating. If you get an opportunity to get out and check it out, you need to. In terms of USC Beach Volleyball, it began in 2012. Women's beach volleyball became an NCAA sport in 2016, and USC was able to win the 2016 and 2017 championships. And then UCLA won in 18 and 19. COVID was 20, and then we won in 21. So USC and UCLA, the only teams to have won an NCAA national championship in women's beach volleyball. So it's a relatively new sport. 2016, as I said, and it began in 2012 as an idea. And once there got to be 40 programs that were interested in it, that's when the NCAA will look at it, and they adopted it immediately. And it's just been on fire. The growth has been on fire, and it's so exciting to be a part of this sport in its infancy at the collegiate level.
And it really is in its infancy, and you've been involved, like you said, USC, 3 national championships, and in one way or another, you've been involved in all 3 of them. Talk about your personal involvement with this program since you got that call from Anna Collier back in 2015, and just USC's place in women's beach volleyball history.
Well, I think the fact that USC jumped in headfirst right away at the beginning, they got a jump on things, just like UCLA. They've been in it for a long time as well. And I got that call from Anna Collier, the previous head coach, in 2015. And I didn't know much about how the collegiate women's beach volleyball was being run or anything about it. So I met the team, and on that team was Sarah Hughes, who was one of the best players to play collegiate beach volleyball of all time, Kelly Clays, and it was just a treat. I said, this is a special group. And this was in 2015, so it was not yet an NCAA sport. It was sponsored by the American Volleyball Coaches Association, the AVCA. We won that first year by going 28-0, and then a lot of pressure was put to win in 2016 because that was the first, right? There's only one first. And the players were so locked in, and it was so cool to be a part of that. Won in 2015, then winning 2016, 2017. And then I stepped away in 2019 to broadcast. I actually broadcast the national championships for ESPN that year. And then later on that summer, Anna Collier decided to step down, and there was going to be a coaching change. So I was all over putting my name in the hat, and I thought this would be such a great fit, and already knew so much about the program. And fortunately, they gave me the opportunity. And that first year, COVID hit us, but we kept plugging away. And then last year, which technically I believe was my first year, it was 2021, we actually won the championship. And now we are poised to try to bring that title home once again. The team's strong. We only lost 2 players from that championships team last year in 21. And so they're locked in. They're ready. And so much fun coaching the athletes that we have on this team. And I've tried to really create a culture of not only fun, but real respectful of your fellow players, your opponent, your coaches. And we just try to learn every day and become the best volleyball players that we can. And we believe in doing so, the score takes care of itself.
And as you're headed in to postseason play and your title defense, we hear so often in both collegiate and professional sports about the championship hangover. You win the championship and then maybe get a little cocky, start out slow out of the gate, maybe you don't have it and don't necessarily bring everything that's necessary to bring for that title defense. That hasn't been the case with your squad this season. Like I said, currently the number 1 team, and like you said, poised to repeat, poised to defend the title. What is it about this team that you feel has you in such a good position to effectively defend that title?
Well, I think in the offseason, I really tried to ingrain in the players, no one cares what you did last year. No one cares what you did last week. You got to prove it every single time you go out, and you're probably going to get everybody's best shot when they're playing you. And so tried to kind of flip the paradigm. Instead of being the target and being the hunted, let's start pursuing. Let's attack everybody. Let's make it miserable to play us. You know what I mean? Let's not sit back and think that, hey, we own the title, so people are going to roll over or anything. I wanted to really get the players locked in that we got to attack everybody because they're coming at us. Why not? Let's go at them. And it is harder, right? When you have, for lack of a better term, eaten, and other people have never tasted it, the big key is to keep that hunger. And so I think we've got them locked in to realizing, 21 was 21. Now we're in a new year. You got to prove it again. And I think they know they have a very special team. And I mean, we're going to graduate 11 seniors. And so, it's almost a complete turnover. And whereas we almost lost no one last year, just 2 players. And there were 2 very important players. But still, when you only lose 2 players, you're in good shape, especially if you've won a title. And it's just it's up to the coach to create an environment and an atmosphere where you're hungry to go out and do it again. And we can't wait. There's about 2 weeks left in the season as of yesterday, and hopefully in 2 weeks we want to be playing in that championship with an opportunity to win a title.
And you've got a whole team full of hunters, 2 in particular that I want to talk about. Your number 1 pairing of Tina Gradina and Haley Harward. We're going to have Tina on the show here in a little bit, but what have those 2 meant to this team this year and throughout their careers?
Well, very different players, right? Tina came here from Latvia and was recruited by Anna Collier. So Anna Collier pulled the magic trick getting Tina here and seeing her talent, and who knew she was going to blossom into this just amazing international player, right? She's one of the best players in the world, not just college volleyball. And she's such a joy to coach because she's so coachable. You tell her to do something, she tries to do it right away. She tries to make the adjustment right away. And that's so much fun. So many players, you tell them something and they put it in their back pocket, and maybe they try it 5 plays down the line, and you as a coach are kind of on to something else. And so when you say someone's coachable, Tina comes to mind. And she is extremely competitive. and wants to take care of business every time she steps on the court. And she has a joy about her. She loves to play the game. So she has that passion. And then Haley Harward came to us from Long Beach, where she was a libero in indoor volleyball. And she is one of the most, I'd say, special athletes in the country. She is so fast. She has a huge vertical leap, and she's just an all-around athlete that can get it done. She's gotten balls up in the backcourt defensively that I thought were for sure going to hit the sand. And it's like a relentless pursuit. So you combine the block of Tina Gradina, you combine the defense of Haley Harward, and you have a really special team there. But we have a ton of special athletes on the team, and it's just a matter of positioning them correctly. So not only do they have chemistry together, but they also can be successful as a pair.
And they're both, I believe, among those 11 seniors that you have graduating this year. Yeah. Now, talking about reloading that team and pulling from the talent pipeline that we have here in Southern California. Obviously, the beach is only a couple of miles away from here, and all the different beach towns that beach volleyball has really been a hotbed. Southern California really is, as Coach Keller likes to point out, I know, the volleyball capital of the world. How beneficial is that to you as a coach, as a recruiter, to have your base of operations right here?
Well, it's interesting. I think the previous coach we talked about, Anna, she liked to recruit locally a lot. And I think the landscape has changed a lot. This may be the birthplace and the epicenter for beach volleyball. And a lot of people move here, professionals do, to train and whatnot. But there is exceptional volleyball being played all over the country. But most notably, I would say Florida, Texas, and here in Southern California. So I made it a point when I got here, I wanted to recruit from all of those areas, and Northern California as well. So in my next year's class, the class of 22, we've got some players from Florida, we've got some players from Texas, we've got some players from Northern Cal, from Southern Cal, and there's so much parity out there now compared to 5 years ago, and there's so much more talent going all over to different schools that you can't just focus on Southern Cal. You have to open it up and see what's out there, because it's, more than half of this game is recruiting. Oh my gosh, if you recruit the wrong individual that's, might be great at another program but might not be good in your program, and if the attitude's not there, and if they're not your type of player and follow kind of in line to what the culture that we try to do here, which is, really respecting one another, respecting the game, being very disciplined, putting in the work, all of those things, and really being selfish at a time to take care of yourself so that you're the best you can be to help your teammate. So recruiting is massive, and we definitely are looking everywhere. And I think everybody who's in collegiate beach volleyball is looking for the next Tina Gradina on an international level, but you just never know where they're going to pop up next.
Well, and you and other top programs pulling from Florida and from Texas and from these states and even countries where not necessarily known as hotbeds of beach volleyball talent, that tracks with something that we were talking about before the show, the just explosion in popularity of beach volleyball, which until not very long ago is kind of viewed as a niche game. How has the sport evolved over the last few years in popularity, and what's been the driving force behind that?
Well, beach volleyball became an Olympic sport in 1996, and ever since it's had a lot of momentum, but it really has a big pop during the 4-year cycle during the Olympics. And so with the collegiate beach movement, it started to kind of become a grassroots movement, to where a lot of players that play indoor volleyball now are giving beach an opportunity, and some of them are making that distinct decision to pick beach volleyball over indoor volleyball, or now they have so many more options, right? And some players can play both really well, but the popularity has just been off the charts, and I believe that volleyball is the number 2 participation sport in the world to soccer. So everybody gets out and plays volleyball at one time or another. Are they professionals? Are they top level collegiate players? Maybe not, but volleyball is a fun sport, and it's so cool to see another female sport be so successful and be basically picked up by so many universities. And we got a long way to go, but the momentum's there, and everybody who's been in it from the start, you want to be an ambassador to the sport and continue to see it grow.
And early on, you actually took an active role in aiding in that expansion in popularity through a charity that you instituted in 1997.
Yeah, I was traveling and playing on the AVP tour, which is the domestic professional circuit here in the United States. And that was always my dream. As soon as I graduated from college, I started playing professionally. And after winning, I won my first event in 97, and I really started to ramp up what was called Dains Day at the Beach. And I would work with YMCAs or Boys and Girls Clubs in local areas that the tour would travel. I would go out, give a clinic. I would invite them to the tournament so they could actually see it firsthand, which is always most impactful when you can see and feel it when you're there live, not just watching it on TV. And I just wanted to expose it to more and more kids out there, and to hopefully diversify the sport, because I think the more diverse a sport is, the more the popularity grows and the more success that it has. I was the first African-American to win a professional beach volleyball event, a major event on the AVP in 1997. And I've pushed to try to see who that next athlete would be on the male side, and we haven't had that since. And so it's a little disappointing for me. You try to work on that diversity, and it's hard though. I pinpoint it on 2 things. Number 1, exposure, and number 2, accessibility. You got to see it more, right? I can go watch 5 basketball games tonight in the NBA, right? And I can probably watch baseball and hockey. And so it's more of a niche sport in a sense that you don't see it in your face all the time. And then the access as well. You're on a sand court. You usually need more than one player. It's a lot easier to just, grab a ball and go shoot some hoops. It's hard to practice when the coaching might not be available in your area. And we know that you can get coaching for the big 3 anywhere, right? The football, basketball, and baseball. But, I think it'll turn a corner. And I would love to see, right now, beach volleyball has a maximum of 6 scholarships available. So a university can offer up to 6 scholarships. When that number gets to, let's say, 10 or 12, and everyone playing on the 10 or 12 scholarships is on a full scholarship, I think you're going to see a lot of changes in that diverse category, just because of some of the costs of colleges and whatnot.
And another thing that you specifically mentioned was access. Obviously, we're here in Los Angeles. The beach is not very far away, and there's sand for miles. You could post up pretty much anywhere and play volleyball as long as there's a net out there. But what about for athletes in more landlocked states and cities, and who don't have a coastline to go hang out on? Where can those kids go if they're interested in getting into the game?
Well, that's the issue right there, right? It's not that there's beach volleyball courts everywhere, and sometimes weather may be an interesting obstacle to get around as well. So I don't have that answer because everywhere is different. But I can tell you, even when I remember working with, I believe it was the YMCA in Inglewood, right? And I bust down probably 200 kids to Santa Monica. And you would have been amazed at how many kids told me that was the first time they'd been down to the beach.
Wow.
From Inglewood. And
wow.
Right, you're like, what are you, maybe a few miles off the coast? And so it's not that the beach is so far it's the familiarity and the going down and playing and getting into the beach volleyball culture is sometimes challenging, and organizing games and that whole thing. I was fortunate to be exposed to it. Being born and raised in Laguna Beach, I had the opportunity to be exposed to the sport. My family originally was from New York, moved out right before I was born, so I was exposed to some sports that I would not have been exposed to growing up in Manhattan. And so I loved it. I played basketball and volleyball all through high school, and I took the path which was going to give me the better education and the path that I thought I might be successful. And I ended up at Pepperdine and won a national championship in the 90s. And it's just the sport's been so great to me, and it's been so much fun that I want to give back as much as I can.
And talking about your career at Pepperdine, that's one name that often comes up if you're taking a look at the big names in volleyball, whether it's you, Coach Mayer down at LMU, or a bunch of people around the game, is Marv Dunphy.
Yeah, Marv is so awesome. I mean, a huge mentor for me, and I mean, that was one of the best decisions I could have made, going to Pepperdine when Marv was going to be there. He was actually just coming off of winning the 1988 Olympic gold medal as the head coach for men's volleyball. And so what better coach, right? He just won the gold medal. And, who knows how much that played on me being able to go to the Olympics and win a gold in terms of my belief by watching him and learning from him. And before I got this before I took the job here at USC, I went back and visited him and sat down. He had a whole folder of secrets for me, and he's a guru. He knows so much. He's always got something encouraging to say. And I think the thing that stands out about Marv Dunphy is how even keeled he was. I never saw him get too upset. I never saw him yelling at an athlete. Always just keeping that focus on the next task at hand, and just an overall great guy. And I constantly use him as a source and as a mentor. I pick up the phone, he answers all the time, and he's always got time for you. That person, he's busy, but he's always available. So just very lucky to be exposed to a coach like Marv Dunphy.
That guidance, those secrets, those tricks of the trades that he shared with you, obviously they took. You've had an outstanding professional career. Went to that first Olympics in 2000 with your partner, Eric Fenoy Moana. You'd never won a professional tournament to that point.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think you're the first guy to get Eric's name right the first time. That's impressive right there. Fenoy Moana is not an easy last name. And, it's so cool playing with Eric. I think we had so much fun. And you're right. We had not won international tournament up until that first one at the Olympics. And so we went to the Olympics. I remember we qualified maybe 40, 45 days prior in the very last tournament that we could qualify in. We actually beat out Karch Karai and his partner Adam Johnson at the time, just barely. And not a lot of people were giving us a shot, right? A lot of people said, go down there, take a lot of pictures, enjoy, and it kind of started to irk you because you're like, I'm going to do more than take a vacation. We're going to do something. So we went down there. We were the 9th seed out of 24, so not expected to do much. And I remember we played Germany first. We ended up taking them down. Then we played Norway, barely beat them 15-13. Then we played Hyger and Wong from the United States, the other American team, and we beat them 15-3. And that put us in the semifinals against Portugal. And against Portugal, it was just a battle. And we knew it would be difficult. Portugal had finished 4th place in the previous Olympics, which is maybe the toughest place to finish, right? Because you're one step away from that podium. And we battled with them, ended up making it to the final, and played a team from Brazil. We'd played 4 times that year, lost every single time, but we were always so close. So we tried to correct those little finite mistakes that we had made, and were able to really squeak it out. But it showed me really and I wish I could have done it more over my career, is to play that next point. That's all that you have control over, is that next point. Learn from what just happened, but you got to put it in the past. And so many people, volleyball is a momentum sport. So many people dwell on the last play, and sometimes one error becomes 4 points you lose. And the team that can limit that is the team that's in much better shape. And so that experience was so cool. Eric and I are still great friends and support each other. And, there's nothing like it. Coaching's great, but there's nothing like being on the court, competing and controlling your destiny. And I always just have such fond memories of that time and how difficult it was and how much pressure there was. And we were able to overcome it and prove, you can talk about it all day, but we were able to prove it. And that was exciting.
Obviously, people telling you, oh, have fun, take a lot of pictures. I definitely could see how that would irk you, especially because you went in there and won the thing. You won gold. Right. But obviously, you're there. You're focused on winning. You've got an Olympics to win. But you're also there in Sydney at the Olympics. This is once in a lifetime. Well, maybe not for you twice in a lifetime. Right. But how, as an athlete playing on that stage, do you straddle that line of focusing on the task at hand and winning, while also making sure that you are taking in the moment and recognizing where you are and the significance of it all?
Yeah, I think I lean towards being completely locked in. That would be, for me, taking advantage of the moment or the opportunity. But I did immerse myself. Like, some people go to the Olympics and they'll skip the opening ceremonies because they compete the next day. That's a choice. That's great, right? But I was at the Olympics. I didn't know if I'd be back again. I'm going to the opening ceremonies even if I play the next day. I think that's just part of it, like, maybe it's a little difficult, but I'm gonna try to immerse myself in the environment and give everything I have. And then at the end of the day, then you judge, oh, that was a great time, or I wish I would have done this or that. But I, as an athlete, always tried to leave it all on the court, right? And I think if you do anything less than that, you're shortchanging yourself, and you'll always have those, oh, what if I would have, gotten good rest the night before instead of gone out, or what if I would have trained harder, or what if I would have gone for that ball? You want to say, like, I went for everything. I went all out, and you push yourself, and that's all you can ask for at the end of the day. And but the Olympics are hard because there's so much pressure, and some of those top seeds, the pressure gets to them. And so the fact that we were not expected to do well, I think, helped. And I think once you win, it's harder to stay on top. I mean, a big dream of mine was going back, becoming the first male American to play in 2 beach volleyball Olympics. And I was able to accomplish that with a different partner in 2004. But that was a goal, to get back there and to try to defend the title or try to do it again. And 2004 didn't work out quite as well as I would have liked to, but the fact that I got to the Olympics twice was an accomplishment within itself. And I think I fully immersed myself that year as well. And sometimes, you take a swing, so you hit a home run. Other times you can strike out, and you can always live with it if you went for it.
And you did go to that 2004 Olympics with a new partner, like you said, Jeff Nygaard, who, in addition to being your longtime partner, and you won 4 AVP titles with him, 9 overall. Now he's the head coach of the men's program here at USC, has an office right down the hall from you. Yeah. How special is it to be able to continue that relationship with him at this stage in your career?
Well, I mean, just by chance, right? We end up with offices, like you said, down the hall, and he's the men's coach here at USC, the men's indoor coach. I'm the women's beach volleyball coach, and it's pretty cool, And this, as we get older and move into different roles, there's a lot of players that you competed against, a lot of players that you competed with. Like Stein Metzger at UCLA is I've been playing against him since college, and he was on the Olympic team in '04 that went to Athens, but he was with a different partner. I was with Jeff Nygaard. He was with a guy named Dax Holdren. And it's, like I said, we didn't have the success in '04, but it was pretty cool to be able to go with another partner, a different partner than I had the previous time. And the Olympics is really special. And I've been so lucky. I didn't go to Beijing, but I was able to go and host in 2012 in London. I was able to do the broadcasting with NBC in 2016 in Rio, and then to go back in 2020 or let's call it 21 in Tokyo, right? It's so fun to still be a part of that experience, and I hope to continue to do that.
Well, and you had a particularly special moment when you went back to the Olympics as an analyst last year. You got to interview on camera one of your current players, Tina.
Yeah, that was just a kind of crazy vortex of everything coming together. So I'm there doing the sidelines with NBC. So I get to interview all the players as they come off. Tina's one of my players here at USC. Gustavo Hocha is my assistant coach here at USC. He was her head coach in the Olympics, right? So
Tina, competing for Team Latvia, was the 4th place finisher with her partner in that Olympics.
Yep. So Tina's playing for Latvia. Her assistant coach, my assistant coach here at USC, is her head coach for representing Latvia, and I'm doing the sidelines. And you had April Ross, who won the gold. She played here as well. You had Kelly Clays, who was in it. So it was like a USC show in a sense that it was so cool. I mean, how ironic is it that your coach at college is able to interview you as you walk off, and to see her do so well and get 4th place. It reminded me of my time at the games, because they weren't expected to do that well, and they surprised. I think they were the story of the tournament, right? I think April Ross and Alex Kleinman winning was a bit expected, and they completely dominated from the first serve till the end. I don't think they were ever threatened. And so the big surprise was this young Latvian team getting to 4th place. And so it was such a cool story, and I was able to share with her my experience prior to going, try to give her some tips on, really to stay focused, and there's going to be a lot of distractions, and you just got to go with it. The one sure thing is that there's going to be obstacles. And so if you can kind of roll with the punches, you're going to be in a lot better shape. And she was able to do so. And I can't wait to see what she does on the professional level when she's out of here. I mean, not a lot of people thought we could get her back to play, after the lure of playing professionally, and she's been in the Olympics, and we just, we have a great relationship that she just really enjoys it here at USC. And we were able to get her back, and hopefully we can take care of some business over the next couple of weeks.
And that actually is an interesting dynamic about the game of beach volleyball that doesn't really exist in a lot of other sports. You will often have players coming to you after already having significant professional experience, especially when they're coming from overseas. Does that present any, not necessarily challenges, but just any sort of different dynamic than when you're getting players straight out of high school?
Yeah, you're talking about some international players coming to play that may have some international experience already playing professionally. It's challenging. And you kind of, even with Tina, we've kind of, I'd say, allowed her, at times and sat down and have a discussion. She just played in Rosarito a couple of weeks ago, about almost a month ago, and she had to miss a couple of our competitions. So that's always a touchy situation, but it made sense for her with the international circuit. And she ends up getting second place in this event, and that it was a full field of the top players in the world, and she nearly won it. And so I look at it as, if you have a player of that caliber and they're out there having those types of experiences, then they can come back and they can share those experiences with our current players. And, we're kind of sparring partners. If you look at it, you're only as good as the teams that you can play against. And we get to beat each other up and practice all the time to try to elevate our play to another level. And Tina's just been fantastic with pushing the level. And how cool is it if you're a freshman or a sophomore and you're playing against Tina, who's already played in the Olympics and already played against some of the best in the world? So if you're blocking her or passing her serve or scoring points off of her, that only gives you more confidence to say, like, hey, I could play against anybody. And so just having a player of her caliber on our team has been just a tremendous asset, and she'll be greatly missed when she's gone next year.
Well, we're excited to have her on in a little bit. Want to talk about beyond volleyball. You have a distinguished broadcasting career as well. You've called Major League Baseball, NFL, sideline reporter for the Clippers. So you're just all around a sports guy.
Yeah, I love sports, and I got my start doing a lot of volleyball, but then I started doing high school football, doing sideline reporting, and it was for Fox Sports West way back in, let's say, 2007, and then I kind of pushed it and got involved with the LA Clippers and was their sideline reporter for about 5 years, and as I mentioned earlier, worked with NBC quite a bit, not only on the professional circuit domestically, but on the last couple of Olympics. So it's, I've been really blessed with the opportunities. I tried to create as many opportunities as I can for myself. And, some things go your way, sometimes they don't, but it's a challenge. It can be difficult at times, a lot of pressure. It's similar to sports at times in terms of performing when you need to perform, and there's nothing like live television. And but I love sports, and like I said, it always comes back to, if you could pick being any component of the entire apparatus, whether it's the fan, the owner, the coach, the referee, the whatever, it's the players on the court. I mean, there's nothing like being on the floor of the arena and performing. And but I'll take it, right? I'll take the broadcasting, I'll take the coaching, and staying around sports, because I think just sports is so fantastic for everyone. It's entertainment. It's a great outlet and for so many people, and it's always pretty joyful, and it's a lot of fun. And how cool is it to be able to coach the future of women's beach volleyball? I think this is just a huge opportunity that I've really loved the experience. And the athletic director, Mike Bone, who came in a couple of years ago, has just revamped the entire department, and the support we get is tremendous. So it's a lot of fun. I think I have one of the best jobs in the world, and I come into work with a smile, and you're able to coach girls and help guide them to be great representatives of not only themselves but the university for years to come. And it's just it's a blast.
Championship player, championship coach, broadcaster, have a little bit of reality TV experience. Is there anything that you don't do?
I try to keep it simple. I know it sounds complex, but all these things have been in segments, and I think it's important to try to create as many opportunities as possible. And like I said, I've been lucky that I've been given some opportunities as well, and always trying to learn, right? You never really have it figured out. You can always be better. You can always improve, and you can always pass on some quality information that hopefully will help the next generation. And I think I think that's the coolest thing. You know, last year we had a player, her name was Joy Dennis, who was on the team, and she had a career that might not have lived up to what people thought originally, but COVID hit. She got that extra year, and that last year of her career, she just wasn't going to be denied. And to watch her mature and then get a job right out of school, and she'll probably never play beach volleyball again, but it's so cool as a coach to see that development and to see her go out in the real world and already start to make a difference and just blossom. That's so cool. And you want that for all of your athletes.
And that's really where I wanted to leave things with you. Obviously, when you're out there on the court in the sand, your focus is winning games, winning championships. But being a coach is so much more than that, because the fact is not all of these girls are going to play professionally. They're not all going to play in the Olympics. So at the end of the day, what does success as a coach look like?
Well, success as a coach looks like, to me, reaching your potential and helping the athlete reach their potential. I tell my athletes right away, hey, don't compare yourself to the girl to your right or the girl to your left. Look in the mirror and try to become your best self. And I want you to not only develop to be your best self, but also to play the best volleyball that you can play. Because, you know, let's not kid ourselves. At the end of the day, we like to get wins. We like to win championships. USC is about excellence. But I don't ever put that type of pressure on the athlete. I just want them to be the best that they can be, and almost so they don't even have to look at the scoreboard. I'm going to go play as hard as I can, then I'm going to look up, and the score's going to take care of itself. And so focusing, like I said, my experience in the Olympics, focusing on the next point. What do I got? What's next? What can I do next? And to see them mature, that's what it's all about, you know. And sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're not, but you take a full swing and a full cut and you live with it.
USC Beach Volleyball head coach Dain Blanton, thank you so much for joining us on the Cannon Sports Podcast. We wish you the best of luck in the Pac-12 championships and the NCAA championships.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Appreciate it. Love to come back sometime. Hopefully we can come back in a few and maybe celebrate.
That's it for this episode of the Cannon Sports Podcast. I'm Phil George with head coach Dain Blanton, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe and follow on Instagram at Cannon Sports, TikTok at Cannon Sports Official, and of course, cannonsports.com for all your sporting goods needs.